First of all, I want to ask the question, what got you into such a rubbish business?
You don't walk down the street and people go, hey, what business would you love to get into? And they say waste or rubbish removal. It's not an industry that people seek after, which is great.
Jacob Spencer is owner and managing director of Mobile Skips. Today, he leads Mobile Skips with a vision to make it Australia's #1 choice for waste disposal.
I was a pretty low confidence kid. I had a lot of nerves about talking to people and was bullied badly at school. My issue was fear of me turning out like my father. My father made a lot of mistakes, lost all his money and ruined the family. I've had twice before crippling anxiety in my time while having the business. One was right at the beginning of acquiring it.
What's the kind of routine to get yourself over a hump and get going again?
I think spending time around. I had colleagues and friends and others who exited businesses and the freedom of money was taken care of and the freedom of time, but then the fulfillment and the doing hard things and the challenges was taken away.
What's been your experience with like challenger brands of your niche?
It's a great question. I would say...
All right, Jacob, welcome to Flow Zone.
Hi Mark, how are you?
I am fantastic. I've watched your business from afar. I find it fascinating. I think we can unpack some really great stuff with that today. First of all, I want to ask the question, what got you into such a rubbish business? I had to say that.
Great question. I spent most of my career in food franchise businesses.
Yeah.
I love customer experience, I love what goes into making an awesome customer experience. And I'd left working for Boost Juice bars about 10 years ago, a little bit longer, maybe 11 years ago. And I was looking to get into a business where there was an industry that really didn't put customer service in an amazing spot. I wanted to take on something that was a little unsexy. So I went looking for a business that could easily make a difference to the customer's experience. And that's where we found Mobile Skips.
Unsexy,
yeah. I mean, there's nothing super sexy. You don't walk down the street and people go, hey, what business would you love to get into? And they say waste or rubbish removal or sewage. It's not an industry that people seek after. Hospitality though, a lot of people want to get into restaurants and food because they have great experiences there and they romanticize what it can be like. And so it's full of competition, whereas the waste industry is not, which is great, which makes it a fun place for us to do what we do.
So there was a method there.
Yeah, there was. We definitely, when I say we, it was me and my stepdad had a lot to do with this, Rob, when he was in business and was my mentor in business. But we looked at where I could make a big difference using our skills and experience really. And unsexy industry was definitely one of them.
Yeah, I think that's a great move. It's almost like a counter positioning move because you're doing something that most others don't do in a sector, which is great customer experience.
Yeah.
But it's also like a proof point here that even though it's what we see unsexy, it's still one of those things that everyone needs to do, right? Like what's the market size of the waste removal industry?
Yeah, like the whole industry's about, I think, 4.95 billion for getting rid of waste at home, getting rid of waste in businesses, skip bins, the dumpsters around the back of businesses. That's the industry in Australia. So it's relatively large. There's lots and lots of players, but there's a few that are really, really big, and then there's heaps that are really, really small. There's no one really in between. Our business is one of those in-between businesses where we actually cover most of Australia. We cover all the capital cities in Australia, which is where we've gotten to now. But we're very niched. So we look after predominantly mums and dads with homes who are aspirational. They might own their own home. They're both working. They're very busy. They've got kids or about to have kids, and they want to do projects at home. And that's why we've got a great partnership with Bunnings, because Bunnings customers are our customers. They're very similar. Those customers that want to do the DIY, they want to make their home a better place, but they're time poor. And they're wondering, how do I get this job done? How do I do these things easily and quickly? And that's where we come into play.
I think some of our Flow Zone listeners are going to be like that too. We have a lot of aspirational people, business owners, leaders, people that are passionate, and they're passionate about putting their time into what they love, not necessarily into waste. So if you can save them time, it's valuable.
Well, that's where, like, one of our things that we look after is, we say that we make room for what matters.
Yeah.
So we give you the time back so you can do the things that are important. It could be that you want to be able to hang out with your kids in their soccer game, or you've got 4 other jobs you need to get done. When you're doing a project at home, the last thing you think about is, okay, I finished pruning all these trees. What am I going to do with the rubbish?
Yeah, once the whiz bin's full, you're like, oh no, I'm halfway through the job. I've got a handful of thorny rose clippings.
Exactly.
So, but of this market that's pretty large to go after that you've niched into, you've actually created a pretty substantial business here. Now, this was already running before you bought it. I understand that.
It was, yeah.
But like, what sort of turnover, just for our audience now, so they can get an understanding of how many bins you're moving around at the moment?
Yeah, we should be 10 million next year.
That's
and
amazing.
so we've got hundreds and hundreds of trailers running around on the road. So as you introduced us, we've got a very clever little product, which is a skip bin on a trailer. And the benefit of that means we don't need any permits. It's a registered vehicle. So it means it can go on the street and be used in and around people's homes. If you use an old-fashioned skip bin, you need to get a permit, or you throw it on top of your driveway and it damages your driveway because it's a big truck. So our bins are designed perfectly for the mums and dads at home.
Yeah, that's clever. Look, if you can get in amongst those people that are going to Bunnings, there's some serious business going on there. I know when I go there to buy one item and I have a sausage sandwich, maybe I usually come out with 2 carloads full.
Always.
No doubt they can see your wares there as well. Yeah. So I want to get into, I suppose, the road that you've taken of franchising.
Yeah.
You know, you've had a fair bit of exposure to the franchising world. Like myself, I learned a lot about franchising when I worked inside the McDonald's hierarchy.
Yeah.
I did it when I was still at school and I was, about to pop out into the working world, into the engineering sector.
Yeah.
And I was passionate about business. So I thought, well, what better place to learn from it? Plus they were doing jobs pretty early in life.
Yeah.
You were inside McDonald's, so tell me about what you learnt there and why you didn't go with McDonald's.
Oh, so much. Look, I went with McDonald's for, I think it was 9 years in the end. I joined when I was a teenager, probably the same as you, and learnt early on the power of great systems, good training, good communication. I was a pretty low confidence kid, as a teenager. I had a lot of nerves about talking to people and was bullied badly at school. Another story. But what McDonald's helped me with enormously was how to interact with people in a team and how to talk to strangers. There was nothing better than standing at the McDonald's counter and having to ask somebody what they wanted and have to upsell them. I still remember, want fries of that? Do you want the large for extra 50 cents? And this stuff's ingrained, and this is 30 years ago, right? It's ingrained in your mind because the training was so good. So I learned good training, good systems, and food itself is a complicated business. McDonald's managed to systemize and build training and procedures and processes for their business that no one else could. So that was awesome. The other part was I was really fortunate to work with a guy named Brian McMaster. He was a franchisee. And you probably worked for a franchisee, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah. Like that showed me right up front just how much passion, how much individual care the franchisee can bring to their own business. So he trained all of us himself. This is as I grew inside McDonald's, I became a shift manager and then an assistant manager, and he spent a lot of time with us training us. So I learned a lot about the value that the franchise model can bring to that business and each individual business unit.
Yeah. Look, my experience with that too, like I was hired by the store manager, like direct, which I think was unbelievable. Like, now I think back on it, like this person was like godlike when they came in. They had a different color shirt on than everyone else. It wasn't the red, it wasn't the green, it was white.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa.
And you're almost like, we've got to make sure we're on our best behavior as you see a store manager walking through the shop.
Yeah,
right?
and I just remember the gravity of their words. Like, that I remember my guy, Jeff, yours was a Jeff too, right? Did
Brian,
you say? Oh, Brian. So,
yeah.
So my guy, Jeff, he'd just make a little comment every now and then about something he noticed that I was doing well. And I'm just like, I'm on track. That thing that you talked about with their training and education, like that created such a separation from the other food giants, really.
Yeah.
By getting that training and education piece, they could then get consistency. They could also lower their cost to serve so much, lower their wastage, which created like a moat around their business that we've talked about. And then to go deeper with the real estate play, it's like no one's coming anywhere near
But
them
I think
now.
you hit it on the head just then. It was consistency first.
Yeah.
So it was amazing, consistent experience first, then productivity.
Yes.
Then how do we sharpen the saw? And I think that's a big, I mean, to be honest, even just talking about it out loud now, that is one of the foundations, I think, of where our business has come from or gone to, is get that customer experience right, design it right, make it easy to deliver on. You asked me, what does McDonald's do really well? Well, they just stick to their knitting, right?
Yeah.
Wherever in the countries where they added more, products and did pizzas and salads and all this sort of stuff, they didn't do as well. Whereas in the 90s and the early 2000s, Australia was actually one of the best markets for McDonald's worldwide because they kept it really narrow. That's changed a bit more recently, but doing less means they could do it more easily, consistently, and better.
There's some really potent value in that, and I'd encourage anyone that's think about even just getting into an industry, let alone starting a company, let alone franchising one.
Yeah,
that scaling of consistency and customer experience is an aspirational value I've got in one of my groups of companies and in one of the bricks and mortar presence real estate. Now we call it an aspirational value because not everyone's there yet, but we've actually put it above the 4 core values because we want it to become core, and we've got a pretty defined timeline on that.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at the top. We have to move towards it. But the more services you have, especially if it's a service industry, like the complexity just goes through the roof. So the question that comes up for me with this is something I've experienced directly. I've been a franchisee in a real estate brand, but I've also heavily considered franchisor to create consistency and clarity around what's included. Now, when I looked into this a few years back when I was experimenting with a couple of ideas and I haven't gone ahead with it, I had enough of a taste of it. When we were giving services to other companies that we're in a locked-in agreement on, it was quite clear what services we needed to give, quite clear what job they needed to do. And when we all did our part, success was inevitable. Yet, you get people with the title of business owner or senior or, they get a bit entrepreneurial and they want to start innovating on things that are already largely done and consistent. How do you deal with that as a franchisor when you're selling consistency and your franchisees want to kind of run off and start new initiatives?
Look, it's an awesome question, and it really depends on what stage you're at with franchising. So, if you're early in the piece, you need great people who are willing to and want to be entrepreneurial. You want them to help you create what the system is, because when you're early in, you don't really know yet what roles the franchisor going to play, what roles the franchisee going to play, what's the end state going to be. Play it all the way forward to, say, McDonald's with tens of thousands of franchisees. It is follow the system, do exactly what we ask you to do, and here's your avenue to complain about what needs to be fixed or your suggestions to solve it, but follow the system. All the way down to your very first franchisee and first brand, you want someone entrepreneurial that's going to help define what the business is. Now we're not at that stage. We're at this stage. We're still relatively small. We've got 20 franchise territories, but we put the effort in the recruitment side is understanding that person better through the questioning and profiling and making sure that they're someone who wants to be someone who can follow a system, but they're open to give feedback. They're good at communicating back to us. We have something called a franchise council, which every franchise should have, which is a set of representatives. We've got 2 on ours who are voted in by the franchisees, and they represent the franchise network to bring their suggestions, bring the things that aren't working. It's also a great way for us to test some of our new stuff, because you're always trying to improve. Might be something new in marketing, might be a new process, might be a change to trailer design, something like that. We would test off them. Yeah. So it starts at the recruitment, and it's also really understanding what you need, and what your business is. I think from a franchise perspective, every franchise should be something fundamentally that is easy for every franchisee to do. When there's a lot of technical knowledge required, then it's really hard to find the right people.
So what's the thing your franchisees have got to do? What's the easy thing that's going to make it successful?
They've got to give great customer experience. They've got to look after the customers. Now, that's like a real motherhood statement, right? Yeah, just give good customer experience.
No doubt you give definition on that.
Yeah, we do. So it's one thing to say it, but we've got this concept in our business called celebrity service.
Yeah.
There's a speaker called Jeff Ram who helped us. He is celebrity service. He's got a couple of books. He helped us build this gap. So what celebrity service really is everyone in business would say they've got good service, sometimes even great service. Then how do you get to that next level up where your favorite celebrity, let's say it's Brad Pitt. I love Brad Pitt. And if Brad Pitt was going to order one of our bins, what would I do differently? And it makes you think about this little gap that becomes the differentiator in your service. So we've systemized that. We run workshops where we bring these ideas to the fore. And one such idea, which is now part of what we normally do, is every customer that uses us for the first time, they get a set of these really nice work gloves that are branded mobile skips on them. And then the franchisee's got an opportunity on the back to write a handwritten note to say, hey, Mark, don't worry, you've got this, from Jacob. And a nice little handwritten note doesn't happen anymore, right? It's just not.
It's so rare now to get a note. I got one at a hotel a little while ago, and I'm just like, I was picking it up like, is this, how they do handwriting, but then they kind of use a good printer.
Yeah.
And they let the ink bleed a little bit, and it looks like, and I'm like, no, this has actually been written with a pen. I was like investigating it.
And there's clear, you can do tricky ways where you can print it and the like. But at the end of the day, it's a vehicle for building a relationship.
Yeah.
Our best franchisees are ones that know all their customers really well. They've built that relationship. They look after them, and then they get great referral. They get great referral from friends, family of these people, or other businesses that are similar. Yeah.
So you've got the leading indicator as customer experience.
Yeah.
The lagging indicator is the referral and the results and the new clients they're getting.
Yeah.
That's actually unique compared to the training that you'll get at most places where they say you just got to go and sell.
Yeah.
You go and sell and you'll make money, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Whereas we know that's not really the case.
No, it's not. Look, we've got a good divide between what the franchisor, what we do, and what the franchisee can do. And I've always said a good franchise model, you've got to have something that each does and really relies upon for the business to work well. So our business is very digital. So we get a lot of our sales through our digital marketing and our relationship with Bunnings as well.
Yeah.
We do a lot of the national marketing for franchisees. We build all the bins and then lease them to them as well.
Yeah.
But then what we rely on is then they give an incredible experience. They deliver on time. This sounds crazy, right? But we learned that the most important thing was that we turn up on time. That seems obvious, but no one does it.
Well, certainly in the construction industry, man, I am blown away. I'm just so blown away. And I know there's been a fair few models open up where there's kind of like an interceptor that kind of distributes leads.
Yeah.
But then it's still not reliable until they find their way and how to get their SLAs so that their people turn up.
Exactly. So we learned this through asking questions of our database, talking to our customers. And if we weren't on time, all the other nice stuff didn't really matter. It was like the most important thing. And so being a good systems person, how are we going to systemize it? We've got dashboards that franchisees look at and their delivery list. If an order turns red, it's late and you've got to deliver on time. Then we reward them for being on time. So it means then that we have, I think last month we had 2 orders out of 1,400 that were late. And this is within a 3-hour window.
Wow.
And that those little things are what drive that customer experience. So you're right, it's like good customer experience, but what is good customer experience? These few little things that mean that then if you deliver on time, then you have the permission to do a bit of celebrity service and you stay in the customer's mind. We ask them for a review, they give us a review and it imprints that experience even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. They remember it 3 times more if they write a review than if they just remember it as being good.
So that's a measure?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I do like it when you break something. I've found this particularly important in businesses. As we've discussed, one of the roles I've got is I advise a portfolio of companies in the private equity called I.A.B.C that I'm involved in. And it's an array of businesses. The first fund was an exit fund that we've got early stage investment grants and bought majority prop tech companies. So they were mostly fast moving. Most of the ones we bought had done something before, so it wasn't their first rodeo. So we sort of just gave encouraging nudges to them, and it was about acquiring and, setting themselves apart. But in the serial acquirer model that we've got, the second fund, where we buy companies and keep them for good, every bit of profit goes back in. So it's a pure capital play and it works, but the diversity of the companies and the fact that they're mostly SMEs, 5 to 150 mil turnover companies, you've got a lot of human kind of opinion about what great looks like or about what service looks like, and particularly with values. So I'm a big fan of the A method or top grading, if you've heard it.
Yeah.
So you've got a job scorecard.
Yeah.
So you've got the values and you've got the KPIs of that role.
Yep.
So productivity in that role, it's defined, it's measurable, but also the values are measurable because the behaviors are described in such intimate detail that you can point out regular behaviors that they would trip over if they were doing them.
Yep.
And so when someone starts drifting from values, but they're still performing, sometimes they get a bit cushy with it, right? There's a bit of politics internally and they end up turning out what we call the toxic rock stars.
I've got a lot of experience with that, definitely.
I want to hear some of your experience with this. What's an example where you've dealt with a toxic rock star?
Best example would be, you're in that, this particular person in that 6-month probationary period, right at that moment. And so one of our values is trust and accountability. So we've got proactive and innovative, then celebrity service, so the service piece, trust and accountability, and team player. And the trust and accountability is a big piece because our business is very dispersed and lots of remote working. And this person there was behaviours that were going on with the trust and accountability, a few red flags. But right at that same moment, here's this great thing that I've done, that I've created. And so you've got this, wouldn't that be great if we had that? Results, it's going to make, it's going to make us money, or it's going to make things, and I'm deliberately being a little bit vague because this turned out to end up being a legal issue.
Yeah.
And I had that red flag of this is a behavioural problem. This is going to come back to bite me. And we went forward. We're like, no, let's just keep going. We'll be able to solve this behavioural issue. And the behavioural issue turned out to be someone that ended up stealing IP from us and using it for their own advantage. So I saw the behaviour then, and this has happened before.
Yeah.
It's not like this is the first time this has happened. And one of the things that I'm trying to think about how I do is how I keep telling stories about this, so I keep it front of mind. So when it happens 2 years from now, again, I remember, and my team remember, because we've told stories about it, and we tell stories about the values, tell stories about why the values are when we see great value, but also tell stories about when we've ignored values and what that's done.
Look, wow, this has just cracked my brain open. No doubt some of our listeners as well. We've all dealt with values collisions, right? The red flag.
Yeah.
And what's coming up for me is this rub that you get, particularly as a business owner, where you want to have that story to help, right? And wired for aspiration, wired for let's make it our responsibility to learn and get on with it. So how do you keep telling that story without it becoming a negative thought pattern that you keep dragging up and being suspicious of people? How do you deal with that?
I found, look, one thing when it comes to trust, so one thing that's really helped me recently was someone, I went to a talk from its professor from Bond University. It was at Melbourne University, and he had discovered a way to describe what trust is, and it was like, this is awesome.
We've got to hear this.
Yeah, so he his name's Justin. I'll get his whole name. I can't remember his last name, but this is not my idea. It's Justin, so I just want to be clear.
That's okay. We might be able to share it.
And his way of he likes to take complicated ideas and make them that you could put them onto a coaster. So trust is I.A.B.C. Integrity, ability, benevolence, consistency. And if you've got a trust issue with something or someone, more often than not, it'll be one or more of those things on the scale. So think about integrity. I do what I say. And it's a scale. It's not black and white. It's like high integrity or low integrity.
Yeah.
Consistency. And you're probably the same as me. Yes, I get it. Consistency, I get it. But, ability, I get it. But what's benevolence? B, yeah. So so I just think of it as selfless or selfish.
Yeah, yeah.
So are they all about me, or are they about, we and the team?
Yeah.
And that's been game changing. So I've been using that in the business to describe when something's been off. I'm like, let's I.A.B.C it. Like, why? What's going on here? What's going on with that person? You can use it with your friends. You can use it with, I'd like my wife to use it on me.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? What am I not doing in the I.A.B.C that's making this, a little shaky? Yeah.
That's a really great model that you've shared there. It's a challenging thing when you start seeing the red flags.
Yeah.
For me, I know I've been really challenged by it, especially coming through an industry that when I got into the industry, I knew it wasn't known for high integrity in real estate and property. I kept going anyway. And I thought even early on, I just had this sense that we could just do a better job and that will change the perception, just a little bit more focused on the journey of the people that are trying to do things. And then over time, the trainers were sort of like, look, in Australia, it's different. We don't have buyer's agents. You just list the properties. The buyers are going to turn up. And I just kept feeling this isn't right. Like we need to serve the non-paying customer here better because they're going to turn into something later. Now, later in life, it's turned out that we're actually quite differentiated by doing that. And we run our group of companies now at present like a concierge service, regardless of whether someone's paying or not. And then they choose to buy stuff off us. But when it comes to the people that are in your business delivering the outcomes, I sort of want to take this sunny side view on them, especially if we've gone through a rigorous process or someone's vouched for them or whatever. There's no reason to kind of be doubting things and I want to keep giving the benefit of the doubt. So how do you tread that line between benefit of the doubt and pulling up on red flags before they become full on?
I think you touched on a really interesting topic because I think when it comes to trust or red flags, you can really easily get into the cynic spiral. You can really drive yourself into this place where you're starting to doubt everyone. And you're starting to go, starting to judge the way you went about that hire or that conversation again. I've always come from the place now that this is going to happen again. I'm going to make a mistake like this again. Not going to get it right perfectly. But I think that if you lead with trust, like if you lead with trust and you try and walk those values and also you give your team permission to call you out when they see you not following those things. I had one of my team, my head of finance, who had the courage. When I say courage to call me out on a way in which I spoke in a meeting. And he did it in front of everyone. And at the time, it was really uncomfortable, like super uncomfortable for me. But the best thing I could do was say, awesome, I'm so glad you did that. That's really uncomfortable. I'm really disappointed that that's how I made you feel. But I'm so glad you had the courage to do that in front of everyone. And I want everyone else to know that that's okay here. And it's practicing that stuff. I think that then creates a culture that allows a safe place where the team can be who they want to be. And then you get to see more of them. You get to hear more of them. Because sometimes these issues come from a different place. They might have other problems going in their life that mean that they're prioritizing that instead of the business.
Yeah.
But if I knew about that, I might have been able to help you and then it might have been able to resolve it. So
Yeah, that's a really beautiful leadership example. I think there's going to be some great value in that for a lot of people. I think Patrick Lencioni is one of the best ones I've seen at this you've read Patrick Lencioni's stuff, no doubt you're in EO. And I discovered him super late. I'd heard about him heaps of times, 5 Dysfunctions of the Team. It's definitely a must-get book if you're listening to this and you want some book recommendations. Works in any organisation or any team, even in the home, right? But like that mining for ideological conflict, like that if there's an absence of trust, then there's going to be an absence of conflict. And you want to be debating ideas. Like that's the main arena.
Exactly.
We want to create that safe space and everyone needs to share something. And if there's not a focus on what we're going for, and then there's a lack of accountability in who's counting and, who's going to own it, and there's an inattention to those results happening or not happening, and you just end up with this big political, apathetic kind of waste of time. And this is why people say meetings are a waste of time. Whereas really the meetings are a waste of time when there's withholding, when there's not a safe space for sharing. And if you define a culture the way that you have, where things are measurable and you as the owner are willing to be called out, then it's ultimately broken through one of the biggest barriers that exist in 7 and 8 figure companies.
I mean, meetings should be the best place. The meeting should be the best time in a business, because meetings should be something you look forward to, because the people that you're hanging out with that are you're solving problems together, cracking the code on these things you haven't done before. I feel like if it's not an exciting thing to turn up to and be there and participate, then you've got then I've got it wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like if everyone, why am I here? I couldn't wait to get out. I couldn't wait to be here, because this is going to be interesting, fun, hard, challenging. We might learn a little. It's got to be. Meetings are the best place.
I share the exciting part with you, but I also want to sort of challenge you on it a little bit. I think they're meant to be hard, really hard. Because when you think about it, especially if it's a leadership meeting or just a management meeting where there's direct reports, think about the level of gravity of that responsibility. It's the tent where the general's in there and they're about to send thousands of people over the hill to their ultimate death and demise, or to the country's savior for all of humanity for hundreds of years to come. So the decisions made in that tent are damn important. So we better pull out the best in each other by challenging that idea. And I think we're meant to be worn out at the end of those meetings. We've given it everything. We've come off the rock concert stage.
Yeah.
Can be fun, but I think it can also be really damn hard.
I think probably fun, but when I say fun is I find hard things are fun.
Yeah,
Rewarding. If you're solving a problem, if it's been difficult, then the outcome is, that's been fun because it's been hard.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. As I've gotten older, I turn 50 next year. That's frightening. And we don't get the opportunity like we used to do uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
It's much easier it's harder to find uncomfortable things in life. So sometimes those uncomfortable things can be where you get the joy or the challenge or the insight from as well.
I share that with you completely. And, growth happens outside the comfort zone. We talk about this. Flow can also only exist when the skills are stretched to the challenge. To get into flow, it's Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied it for 30 years. He's like, we need a clear goal. We need to be receiving immediate feedback whether we're on track or off track. And the skills must be stretched to the challenge, because if not, we take on other challenges in our brain. And, and that's where meetings become boring and people are texting because they're just not immersed in the problem, or the problem's not big enough to solve, or it means nothing to them.
Yeah.
So I think that fulfillment thing you talked about, coming away from it, it's a good sense. On that front, though, with challenges, no doubt you've crossed over the threshold, or you're about to cross over the threshold from a 7-figure company to an 8-figure company, and that's no mean feat. And in guiding my own companies there, or advising some of those in the portfolio and that, there's a big difference in skill sets that are required to go from, say, 1 or 2 million to over 10. What do you think is the key thing that's changed for you as a leader in what you need to change when you cross over that divide from 7 to 8 figures?
Trust. Trust and patience. So I think if I go back to early days, you have to be great. I mean, I was fortunate. I was late to being an entrepreneur, and I used to think that was a problem. So I didn't acquire this business until I was 40, and I used to think that was bad. I would like, damn, I was hanging around these amazing entrepreneurs who were 30, who had crazy successful businesses. I'm like, geez, I have wasted my time up until now. But what I've realized now is the time I spent in these really big organizations learning how to lead large groups of people, how to build systems, how to manage complex finances and funding and the rest of it, meant that when it was time, then that bit was easy. And so what I then had to deal with was what was going on in here.
Yeah.
Right, I'm doing and I'm creating, and now it's time to let go. All right, it's time to let go. You know, you add. You don't go from doing everything to replacing yourself with one person. There's this concept, that I used to hear about of, when are you going to replace yourself? And I used to think of it like that's one person.
Yeah.
It's not. So it's been
get a CEO, everything will be fine.
Exactly, like this idea. Install that one person. When actually it's a journey of growing responsibility and giving responsibility and accountability to people slowly and doing it in a way that's letting go. It's like peeling back the onion and giving a piece to someone else, and then it gives you the space to then step up above it. So probably the hardest thing has been just like what you said now. But most recently, I've gone from having myself and a couple of people to myself and like 5 leaders. And, leaders with lots of experience and lots of ideas, and you've got to let them do what they do.
Yeah.
And letting go of some of the strategic decisions and letting them decide on strategy, letting them decide on how we're going to win, and me just having a voice, not the final decision. That's probably been the most difficult.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be working all right at the moment. There's no doubt, like you said, there's going to be more challenges ahead.
Yeah.
So we can prepare for those.
Yeah.
I imagine there's a few challenger brands out there that are trying to do similar things and access a piece of this small niche. Like I remember hearing about a brand of skip bags or something like that came out. I think they were actually trying to do Bunnings as well. What's been your experience with like challenger brands of your niche?
It's a great question. I would say there are a few in our niche. And we're quite fortunate that the majority of the competitors out there are still very broad. They do lots of things, which has stopped them from being able to go quickly into other cities like we have.
Yeah,
there are like Blue Croc Bags is one of them. They had a big. They were a great brand in Victoria. There's the pink skip bag guys in Bunnings as well. They never got their disposal quite working because they tried to franchise and didn't do it properly. They got the Bunnings piece, so they didn't design it in a way that would allow them to scale.
Yeah.
Talking about challenger brands though, like one of my favourite, which we find ourselves similar to in an industry, is the mattress industry.
Okay.
So like I love Koala, Koala mattresses, and I think there's a lot of value in seeing what other brands do in different industries and then go, how could I apply that to our industry?
What do you love about Koala the most?
Oh, the way in which they make it so easy for the customer to make a decision.
Yeah.
So the 100-day guarantee. I mean, it sounds it's so normal now, but when they first started, sleep on our mattress for 100 days, and if you're not happy, you'll just get your money back.
Yeah.
I mean, that was game changing back then. And they were able to design a cool mattress that you could box up in a tenth of the size, ship it really easily, lowered the cost, made it really easy to get to market. But the customer's like, yeah, that's great, but what if it's uncomfortable? And, I'm used to going into my Captain Snooze store and lying all over the bed and putting, and trying it out, and I want to make sure it's comfortable. So the way they did that was really clever. And then some of their disruptor marketing. So there's this great video where someone's lying on the bed next to their partner, and the partner spills jumps on the bed with a wine glass and it goes everywhere. So then they put the wine glass down on the bed. He jumps on, the wine glass doesn't even move. Yeah, some clever stuff that took an old stuffy industry and challenged the way they took it to market. And challenged the way in which they solved the customer's problems that the others hadn't done.
It's funny you say that because I think I've purchased from a challenger brand. I've purchased from Ecosa, who is Koala's competitor. Yeah. And they really specialise, Eco's in there, so there's probably an Eco side to it. Yeah. But like the memory foam is like their thing. Yeah. It turned up also in this roll tube like in a day. Yeah. And they have a 100-night sleep guarantee. Yeah. And they just come and get it and they give it to homeless shelters if you don't want it. Now, we actually did make a mistake in our order in one case where it just wasn't right. We couldn't make it work even though it's variable. Yeah. And they came and got it and they're like, well, what are you going to do now? And we're like, we're going to order another one. And we just ordered another one and it just turned up as well. And then we thought, you know what? Like for most of those guarantees, I never activate. So when I look at a pair of shoes that's got a guarantee or a clothing item, I'm like, I'm not going to get back to the post office.
No.
Like I'm just going to wear this problem. And if I can't wear the problem literally, I just give that clothing item away because I've got to look at my minute or hour of time.
Exactly.
And even if I can bag it back up, I've still got to get it to a post box and all that stuff. And I've burned a couple $100 by the time I got in the letterbox if I could have been in, the heat of my productivity.
Yeah.
So those things are interesting. The challenger brands in your world are interesting. Of all the challenges that have come your way, what's probably the hardest thing that you've had to deal with in this business journey to date?
Hardest thing in the business. I would say the biggest challenge as a business owner for me. This sounds really strange, but it's been me. So my own anxiety. So I've had twice before crippling anxiety in my time while having the business. One was right at the beginning of acquiring it. I overcame it, which was great, and I thought that was just an incident. And then we had some really big decisions in the business a couple of years ago, alongside some family decisions to make. And, it's interesting how trying to keep these two separated is never easy.
It's not really a thing, is it?
It's not a thing.
Work and life are actually just life, and work's a component of it.
Absolutely, spot on. And so being able to overcome what's stopping me from running my business, and so the anxiety crippled me.
Can you give us a description, if it's not too sensitive?
No.
What does crippling anxiety look like when it's playing out? Well, through your lens anyway.
Yeah, so crippling anxiety for me, and having talked to others who have felt it as well, is extremely physiological. So you feel it. And for me, it starts in the chest, can feel like when it first started, I thought I was having a heart attack. Went to the hospital. That was embarrassing after a couple of times. And no, I think it's just a panic attack. And I'm like, that's strange. That's not me. I don't have panic attacks. And the physical feeling, then it becomes everyone's got that voice in their head. Have you got a voice in your head?
Yeah.
Tells you things from time to time. That voice is 5 times as loud, 5 times as strong, and telling you all these things that you're experiencing. There must be something wrong with you. You're feeling these feelings. So it's very consuming. So you're feeling not well, and you've got almost tunnel vision on because the voice is really loud.
And what are the kind of things that they're saying?
It's saying you are having a heart attack. You can't do what you're doing. You should stop doing what you're doing. And lots of negative conversation.
Yeah.
And I think and why I say it was the hardest, because at the time I needed help. I was super fortunate to be part of Entrepreneurs Organisation. I ended up having a mentor, coach, seeing a psychologist once a week to unpack all this stuff. And really what I ended up learning was there's some tactics that helped with the anxiety, and then it gave me the time to do the work on figuring out what was causing the anxiety.
That is gold. What can you share some of these tactics? Because anxiety is being reported as one of the most crippling. Now that you've used the word, I can see, I can understand how that must be properly crippling. So there'd be a lot of people who are dealing with it at some level, even if it is a gradient. What are some of the tactics that you've used with anxiety?
To start with, if you think about getting it under control, so then you can take the time to do the work. That's the method. So getting it under control. I got this great bit of advice from my psychologist about 100% of people, one of these two things works. You either lean into what's causing you to feel this way and almost intellectualize it, try and figure it out, problem solve it, or run away from it, distract yourself, do something else. And he said, try them both out and see what works. Well, I tried the first one out. I'll lean into it. I'll try and outsmart it, and I'll tell myself that this isn't real. That didn't work. That ended up making me feel more anxious. So I tried it a few times and checked in. Then I went the other way. All right, what's going to work here? I've got one way to distract myself. All right, I'm going to go for a run. And I'm going to go for a run that's so hard and so difficult that I've got nothing else to think about but how difficult that run was.
Right.
I'm like, that worked. Feeling a lot better.
During the run you feel this, or after the run?
Afterwards.
Okay.
Afterwards. So then I'm like, all right, every time I start feeling this feeling, I need to choose something that will be a distraction. So then I start exploring these things. So what my thing that I really enjoy is cold, real cold.
Yeah.
So
Like ice bath cold?
ice bath cold.
Yeah.
I've got a pool at home that's currently 10 degrees.
Yeah.
My pool this morning was very distracting. Very distracting.
So you're sending yourself into that environment now proactively, not waiting until you get into an anxious situation?
Yeah, proactively. And
What have you noticed?
I've noticed two things. One, like we are now, it's at the surface. It's talked about. It's front of mind. I got the opportunity to, first of all, I learned how to get it under control. Another trick was this wonderful thing called kava. You've heard of the Fiji kava?
Yeah, I actually have it in my cupboard for just helps me cruise into the evening. I used it originally when I was just wanting to get away from having wine with dinner.
Yep.
I'm not talking hitting it hard, but I'm just talking red wine with nice steak. But I just didn't want that inflammation in my body all the time. So my naturopath got me some kava, which was really hard to get in the past. It's easier now, right?
Yeah, it's easier now. And so I said, well, my doctor was like, why don't you try the kava and see how it goes? Magic, game changing. So I'd have kava, great for sleep. My issue was never that I could sleep, it was that it would take over my body during the day. So I'd have kava in the morning and then I'd just be easier. And then you could go do the work and figure out what was causing this anxiety, which is always something personal for everyone. But getting it under control, I think is from talking to others that have experienced it, that's the thing that makes a big difference.
Okay, so the getting it under control just gives you time or space to go and work on the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, now is there a step 2 to that on the process to how to work on the thing?
Work on the thing. I'm a huge fan of regularly having therapy.
Yeah.
I'm seeing my psychologist on Friday.
Yeah.
It is working on the mind like working on the body.
Yes.
It's a big deal. And there's always, for me personally, my issue was fear of me turning out like my father. My father made a lot of mistakes, lost a lot of money, lost all his money, and ruined the family. And fundamentally, that was what was driving most of my anxiety.
What was if it's not too personal as well, was this business related?
No, he wasn't in business. He had great jobs, earned lots of money, and had some family wealth. And my parents divorced when I was 12, and I didn't really have a great relationship with him from there. I had a great relationship with my stepfather, who became my mum's husband. But he just had made lots of bad choices. And to be really, to talk really vulnerably around that, I'm half him genetically, so I would have huge concern that I'm just going to turn out like you. I'm going to ruin my business. I'm going to lose my family, and it's all not true. But it's amazing what the little voice is good at telling you when you listen to it too often.
It's also hard when you've heard snippets of an expert talking about you can't change stuff because it's in your DNA, and then you hear someone else say you can change anything you want, just make a decision. And I think a lot of the help that's out there for people that are dealing with some kind of mental health challenge or are on the neurodiverse spectrum of some kind and trying to make sense of how they process things. It's almost noisier with people's opinions of what can be done and what can't be done. It's rare to actually hear it from someone kind of on, your own level or accessible.
It's true. Yeah. So, I think I've just learned to talk about it more. I used to think, why would someone want to hear about my stupid story about how this affects me because it's very personal? But then what that happens is you end up pushing it down. You end up not talking about it. You don't think about it and you don't process it. You don't move past it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the psychologists are there for.
Yeah.
I think in Australia, compared to other countries, we don't access it as readily.
No.
And I'm a huge advocate for young people and disadvantaged people being able to get access to some of these support services too, because it's really hard to get support, especially if you don't have the funds or the money to do it.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm really encouraged to see a lot more initiatives now where sort of big mega businesses, especially those in sectors that kind of, they just transcend everyone, like primary industries or tech or whatever it might be. It's quite surprising how many are available, that they've got an app that's available to almost the whole public. Like if you've been a customer of the company, you can use it, or if you're an employee. of the company. So I think it's a valuable thing for people to go looking for what that version of help looks like.
Yeah.
There's some really great shares that you've provided right now. So we've been through quite a journey. Just in this chat, a lot of times race by here in the flow. When you have come from a challenging time like that and you need to now resurrect yourself and just get onto the field and go for it, what's the kind of like routine that what are you doing to get yourself over a hump and get going again?
Oh, I think spending time around the people that matter most to you. You know, I've got a wonderful family. I've got 2 teenage kids, or 13, 11. My daughter's 11. She's going on 18. I've got an awesome wife who Sarah and I have been together 21 years. You know, they're fantastic. I'm blessed. I start there. You know, we do this great routine every night around the dinner table. So it's called high-low buffalo. It sounds, you know, ridiculous. But,
I like these routines. Yeah. Share it.
But it is. My joy, my happiness, my superpower comes from the energy that the family gives, and then you can take it where you want to. And high-low buffalo is what's your high, what's your low, and a buffalo is just something interesting. You know? And every time we sit around the table, the kids they've got 3 or 4. They're thinking like so hard about, I don't know, can I have 2 today, Dad? Can I have 2? Sure you can. And what they've shown me is, you know, sometimes I turn up at the table, Dad, what's your high-low buffalo? Oh, I don't know. No, you've got to have a high.
Yeah.
You know, and they've taught us about gratitude.
Yes.
You know, about gratitude and unpacking the things that are hard. Like the low is, so what did you learn from that? And they're just doing it naturally. They're teaching us.
Wow.
And then the buffalo is just something fun, something interesting that, you know, that makes us all laugh. So that routine to me is where, you know, I get a lot of joy and can give me just that little bit of context that I probably didn't have that day that I can take through the next day. Yeah.
I love these little hacks of what someone does when they're, you know, because everyone's got their own version.
Yeah.
High-low buffalo, I'm going to remember that. I've been doing lately 3 wins for the day.
Yeah.
I got that off Dan Sullivan, you know, one of the sort of old school dudes. And he's got a book called Gap in the Gain, The Gap in the Gain.
I love it.
Yeah, and he works with Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's one of his proteges, who he did Who Not How with, and that was just a textbook example of entrepreneurialism. Dan Sullivan comes up with the idea, but I'm not an author, so he gets a psychologist to write his book for him and puts his name on it. But then Benjamin Hardy becomes famous as well, and now he's written Gap in the Gain, which is what Benjamin really wanted to talk about the whole time. And it is that we can only really measure our happiness when we look backwards. Because if we're measuring it against an ideal, we're always going to be short, because an ideal is by definition ideal. Yeah. So if we look backwards at how far we've come, then we can go, wow, I've had a win. But we can repurpose anything in our past as being a win. Yeah. So we could, if you don't think that you've made any progress, just look back further. And if you have to go all the way back to when you were born, hey, I learned to walk. Congratulations. And eventually you'll amass some wins and you can get over trying to find the cynical side or the skeptical side or where you came up short. So I do like the high-low but because it's also showing, hey, we're going to have them. Yeah. And we can reframe them as learnings, which are a form of winning anyway. Yeah. Now, on that topic of family, one of the challenges we get as entrepreneurs, especially when our business starts to either scale or flow, right? Because scaling, we're growing, off we go, we're going all the way. But we know scaling comes with that level of like, I know, I don't even know what's coming, but I know I'm going to be eating glass and staring into the abyss at some point by choice. But when you're in flow, like particularly with models that have got sticky recurring revenue, like a franchise model, like a subscription model, like when you've got, you know, stuff that you're manufacturing that others need and you're still helping them by providing it. We get into this thing where we become so efficient sometimes that there's a lot of our day that used to be work that's now not. How do you deal with that spare time? I'm going to leave it open because like I don't want to answer it for you.
Well, spare, I've always done other things apart from just mobile skips. Yeah. And the reason is perspective. And perspective, and you know, you said earlier on when we started, my role was street. No, I had this great opportunity that came along 10 years ago to come and participate on the street board. And the main reason I wanted to do it was because of what I was given at McDonald's. I found hospitality and the skills I learned in hospitality were fundamental in creating me as who I was.
Yeah. And can you just say the acronym out loud for our listeners as well on street?
Yeah. So street, the street enterprise is a social enterprise that uses hospitality businesses to help very disadvantaged youth divert from homelessness.
Yeah.
Jeff Harris is one of Flight Centre Founders, one of our biggest supporters, and the two women that founded Street, Beck and Kate, are two of the most inspirational people I have the privilege of knowing.
Yeah.
Who are all about solving this incredible problem through their work.
Yeah.
So what I had the opportunity to do was just a very small thing, which was use my hospitality skills to help the businesses run as great businesses so they could support doing the social impact that they were doing.
Yeah.
And this was, if you think about spare time, this was my version of going, well, I've got some time, or I could make some time to do something that's going to have a lot of value. And we got that organisation to be 90% self-funded and helping 300 to 400 kids a year. And this is talk about mental health. Some of the things that these young people have had to go through no fault of their own because of decisions that their parents or them closest had made on their behalf is unbelievable. So that's a great way to. I always said to the board members who would come and join Street during my tenure and after I left, what you'll give is far less than what you'll get. And being able to spend time with inspirational people solving the world, solving big problems, you end up taking that back to your business and go, wow, look, it's so easy to be, to help and give back. And that's where we've got a partnership with Vinnie's nationally. We're able to just do a tiny little bit of difference. So we do a free Vinnie's run for all of our customers. So if you're cleaning up at home, you're invariably got some stuff you want to donate. Yeah. And it's locked value. It's in your house not being used, whereas it could be at a Vinnie's store being sold and helping a vulnerable Australian.
I've dealt with this as well. Like we do cleanups and I get bags and they're ready to go. And it's just like, because we've spent so much time cleaning and then we're on to the next thing, we've just got these bags locked in our house for like ages. Yeah,
exactly. So we've got this great partnership where our franchisees do an awesome thing, which is they pick up the bags which are left next to the bins and they drop them at their local Vinnie's store.
That's great.
And the difference that it does, one bag can be $100 worth of stuff and we're donating 50 a week, which is fantastic. So it's just a tiny little shift.
Yeah.
Because of the operations we've got, it's not that difficult for us to do, but no one else could do it.
1 degree for you is an order of magnitude for the people down the line.
Yeah.
That's gold.
So back to your spare time, it's participating in these, adjacent things where I've got the skills where I can contribute, but there's another place where you can learn and then you end up either taking it back to your business or helping another organisation as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I know I've dealt with the challenge of freedom before, and it was actually probably one of them. I've had a few offers to exit over the years. I've still got a couple of approaches that are there, but we're in the middle of something pretty amazing at the moment. Now's not the time. But when I think about why didn't I in the past, when it seemed like, yeah, I'm on a good trajectory here, I had things to daisy chain onto, and it's like, I don't think I wanted the freedom that would come with it. Like Dan Sullivan again talks about it, like, why do we become entrepreneurs? Well, it's essentially some kind of freedom that we're looking for. And it's usually, you see a lot of entrepreneurs quite rebellious, but they don't have to be rebellious as in they're committing crimes. They just they didn't really suit the school system. So they don't really suit sitting in someone else's business. We have a very low tolerance for mediocrity. And when we see an opportunity to improve something, like that flywheel starts spinning. Yeah. But the challenge with that is that, like, okay, exit, finances, investments all looking after themselves. Now what? Now, do we all go on to something healthy? Do we all go on to something good? Do we all go into something meaningful and impactful? At the times in the past, I've been really, like, what do I do with my freedom? Am I just going to end up just going to events and drinking alcohol and, like, being some sort of, like, materialistic kind of, person to join the queue? now I have a different view on what opportunities there are to immerse myself in within the freedom, but it still can be a challenge.
Oh, I think it's a big challenge, especially, there's this, when I first started the business, there is this sort of goal to scale and grow and get yourself in a position where you might have that freedom to exit or leave. But then I had colleagues and friends and others who exited businesses, and the freedom of money was taken care of and the freedom of time. But then the fulfillment and the doing hard things and the challenges was taken away.
So what happened to them?
Oh, they, honestly, one of them was lost for a good couple of years. They ended up finding a place where they could contribute again.
Yeah.
But took them 2 years to find that space again.
Yeah.
And so I'm really conscious of, okay, what's next? But I don't think I used to think a lot about it. And I think as long as I'm putting myself, my goal for my business is to make it sustainable beyond me and beyond my current team.
Yeah.
So that to me, to be able to look forward in 10 years' time, if Mobile Skips is like flying but without us in some way, it doesn't mean I'm not a shareholder, it doesn't mean I'm not participating, then that's the win. So that means we've created the real legacy of a system and a business that survives because it's a great business.
Yes.
Not because it's relies on me or relies on one or two particular people.
I really align a lot with that definition, right? So because you've got a desire to have an impact and there's a purpose behind it, right? You've got this customer experience at the center. The waste removal business still has like an environmental side to it and a sustainability side to it, not just in the environment, but sustainability of business operations.
Yeah.
And to be able to create a company that has enough value that it's creating for enough people to transcend its owner, that's a very valuable thing alone. And that's kind of where the E-myth comes from. But then to go and have an even more bigger, audacious goal that your current management team, it then succeeds them as well. That's like a lasting impact. And I think that's very closely linked to purpose. And I can now see why it is that you're excited to continue this journey for the next round. And that pretty much does wrap us up because we are definitely at the end of an awesome chat today. So look, I'm going to leave it with one question and it's something that hopefully you'll get to experience a lot of moving forward. When you go looking for this one thing, what does flow mean to you?
Flow means no boundaries. Means unrestricted. It means me. I've thought a lot about this coming into this, and I think it means freedom from my own constraints.
That's beautiful.
So not having the fear, being okay with fear, being okay with failure, and still doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving towards that purpose that lies ahead.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for your time today, Jacob. This has been amazing.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.